What's up, guys? Mr. Dan here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Norris November review. This week we're taking a look at the Immortal Classic, Cheese Fest, the Uber Chuck Norris 80s film, Invasion USA, where Chuck is wielding double Uzis up against Richard Lynch. And this is a fun one. So I wasn't originally going to watch it or review it, but I decided after hearing people talk about it, I just had to, it was a no-brainer. I had to rewatch it. And let's talk about some other Chuck Norris November news real quick before I get to the review, because it's going to be a relatively short review. There's not a lot of intricacies in the plot. So I'm going to be doing a couple things. I'm going to be doing a ranking at the end. And speaking of rankings, I did rewatch, because I'm working ahead here. I did rewatch the ranking that Jason from Horrific Nightmares JM and Joe, the horror man, did last year. And they're the ones that actually coined the term Norris November. So I had a lot of fun rewatching that last night. And just listening to the rationale about like what, why one movie is better than another. And, we've arrived at a lot of the same conclusions as far as some of these films go, as far as the pacing and the script. And then, but also just factor in the sheer fun. It's Chuck Norris movies. You're not going to make a list of the objectively best films. You're watching a Chuck Norris movie for action. And I might have even another video where I just wrap everything up and give my final thoughts about Chuck, because, I think sometimes he is unfairly maligned, but also sort of pigeonholed. I think he's kind of like well loved. I mean, ever since the birth of the Chuck Norris jokes, he's become like an icon. But there's more than meets the eye in a lot of his films. So anyway, look for that, and I'll sort of probably be tagging some people. Hey, what's your Chuck Norris film? What's your favorite fight scene? Who's your favorite villain? Things like that, where you can just respond in the comments. So it should be fun. And then next year, I might only do the first half in November. I've got the Missing in Action films, Delta Force, An Eye for an Eye. I've got there's some other Chuck Norris films out there. I'm not sure I'm going to get into Walker, Texas Ranger at all, but you never know. A whole year between now and then. So I might do like a little bit of Norris November next November, and also Noir November. As a matter of fact, there's a big film noir event at the Colonial Theater, which is kind of close to me. Relatively, it's a pain in the ass to get to though. And Eddie Mullen from TMC, the film noir guy, he's going to be there. It's like a whole festival all weekend, but after traveling recently, I don't have the strength for any of that right now. Maybe next year, though, and maybe I'll work in some film noir reviews. So Mike from Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays, if you're listening, maybe, we could hook that up. So anyway, let's get into this. Invasion USA. Now, where am I going to rank this? I'm not really sure yet, because it really depends on your mood with a lot of these. I was going to pair this with Lone Wolf McQuade, because I think in some ways they're similar as far as just the cheesiness and the ridiculousness of some of it, the over-the-top aspect of both films. But Lone Wolf McQuade does have more martial arts. So that will be, I need one more martial arts Monday review. So that's going to be the last one of the month. So, Invasion USA. I mean, just an all-out action film. America faces an invasion by an army of terrorist mercenaries is up to a one-man army. Matt Hunter to wage war upon the enemies of freedom. I mean, that's pretty much it. Richard Lynch is a terrorist who has crossed paths with Chuck. And, like a lot of Chuck's films, he's like haunted. Well, in this, Chuck is Chuck, I mean, he's unflappable pretty much. The villain is the one that's haunted. Okay, he's obsessed with Chuck. And, of course, no matter where he goes, they end up meeting up. It's pretty funny. So he's got another guy he's working with. They have all these terrorists come ashore and start creating these incidences. They disguise themselves as police officers and go light up some towns and, create a lot of tension in different communities. And they go into a neighborhood, which was actually a neighborhood that was going to be torn down, but they decorate for the production of the film. They decorated it for Christmas. So this has a great Christmas feel. And Richard Lynch and his evil sidekick pull up, and they take it all in for a good 2 minutes. Kids playing, like more kids than ever played. I'm from the 70s. We used to play outside, guys. But this is like, I mean, kids all over, teenagers making out. Everybody's putting up Christmas decorations, and they take it all in, and then he takes out some rocket launchers. This movie must have the most rocket launchers that have ever been used in a film. And he just starts lighting these houses up. It's just so over the top. Yeah, I love Richard Lynch. He's just fantastic. He has a brief scene with Billy Drago, who's been in a few Chuck films. He needs something from Billy Drago, and he gets it from him. And you learn how ruthless he is. And then Chuck he goes after Chuck, tries to ambush him. Great scenes in the Everglades, on the what do you call those, hydrofoils and everything. Chuck kind of lives right on the water, very simple life. He wants to be left alone. This guy comes after him, and then he has to get back into it. He's contacted by some federal agencies. There's usually like a Fed in these movies, right? That he has some kind of relationship with, whether it's good or bad. And Chuck just wants to be left alone, but he knows that this guy's obsessed with him, and eventually he goes into Chuck mode and just rescues a whole bunch of people. He's tearing bombs off of buses and throwing them back at you. He's got 2 Uzis. It does look pretty badass the way how quick he is. He's on the draw with those things, just wiping people out left and right. He sneaks up behind one guy and ends him, and it's just like ice cold. Some good fight scenes, and an over-the-top ridiculous ending where the bad guys move in and try to take over. Because, of course, the government has to declare a form of martial law, so they have all the governors coming in. I guess this is the 80s. They can't call each other on the phone, or, there's no teleconference or whatever. But they're going to come in and meet together, so the terrorists want to attack that. And then the army comes in and has about a 10-minute battle, almost like point blank, with tanks and artillery and rocket launchers, while Chuck is in the building hunting Richard Lynch. And it all goes on simultaneously. Oh, I forgot the part where they attacked the mall during Christmas, and they're driving another structure that was going to be condemned that they used for the film. Chuck's got a badass truck, as he often does. So it's a crazy chase through the mall, just shooting, driving. It's wild stuff. It's just so over the top. It's like if you had a grilled cheese sandwich and you put like more cheese on it, it probably would still be pretty good. And then if you put even more cheese on it, it would still be really good. That's what this movie's like. It's like, hey, let's put more cheese in it. So not his most serious film, but for a lot of people, this is number one, just on nostalgia and just sheer fun. So go ahead and check out Invasion USA if you haven't seen it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and come back again for some more Chuck Norris reviews, and I'll talk to you soon. Later.
When the boogeyman goes to sleep every night, he checks his closet for Chuck Norris. Yeah!